Hello all. I have to be honest, despite thinking last week's episode was okay, I didn't really want to watch this week's. And in some ways I was right, in others I was wrong. So on to it. Season 2, Episode 4, Lucky Day. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to do some mild spoilers as there's no way to talk about this without mentioning certain things. First off, the setup was almost exactly the same as the much maligned Love and Monsters. See my video for my thoughts on that episode. I initially thought it was another rip-off of another idea, like last week and half of season 1. However, on reflection, I think that was intentional. This is another Dr. Light episode, and probably better for it. However, weirdly, it's not a solo outing for Belinda. Instead, Millie Gibson is back as Ruby Sunday, and apart from her usual gulpy delivery, Millie does a sterling job. In fact, everyone in the episode is great, and it supports the hypothesis I posed last season. Some actors lift the performances of those around them, but Chuti's presence seems to drag everyone down to Clowntown. At its best, it's a soulful portrayal of life after the Doctor, a contemplation on how you go back to some semblance of a normal life without him. How do you live with the things you've seen, the wonders and the horrors? And it's astutely identified as a form of PTSD. How else would Ruby react to having seen the universe die? That was touched on at the end of The Last of the Time Lords with Martha's family, but here we see it in living colour, beautifully realised by Millie. Now the first half of this episode isn't bad. Some clunky stuff, but it's forgivable. There's decent character work, a well-built sense of creeping danger, and a decent monster, until you see it in its cheap CGI glory, that is. Then it goes spectacularly off the rails, which is why I think the similarity to Love and Monsters was intentional, so they could completely wrongfoot the audience. And the true bad guys in this episode? Internet trolls and conspiracy theorists. Man, these people live rent-free in RTD's head. How many times do we have to be punched in the face with this one? It's so prevalent in modern media. Misinformation, fake news, etc. The problem is that far too often those conspiracy theories turn out to be true, and fake news tends to be just that. I was told by my mum when I was a kid, don't believe everything you hear and only half of what you see. Sure, there are conversations to be had about the dangers of grifters, social media and legacy media lies, the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and echo chambers impacting the narrative, and that's on all sides. But once again, it's entirely one-sided. There's no nuance. For example, there is a claim that UNIT has lied to the public, but we know they have, countless times. And speaking of UNIT, as an intelligence agency, they are completely inept. The end of the episode is terrible. Anyone remember what happened the last time somebody went after one of the Doctor's friends?
And when people come to you and ask if trying to get to meet with the people I love is in any way a good idea, I want you to tell them your name.
Remember the oncoming storm? Now he's like a light drizzle. Instead of this, we get Chuti preaching, telling the antagonist to go and touch grass. Have no delusions. This is aimed at the audience. And I think that's part of the problem. He's too busy lecturing, so there's no threat, menace, or gravitas from Chuti. In fact, the other person in the scene is the one who actually embodies those traits. At least Chuti didn't cry though, did he? So the moral of the story, folks, don't question, don't give or listen to alternative opinions. Just do what you're told or you're a poo-poo head. An oversimplification, perhaps, much like this narrative. The moral should actually be a very old one, to be wary of false prophets, whatever hats they wear. It was a game of two halves. A decent first half, great acting from Millie. I don't mind the twist per se, but the reason behind the twist and its terrible execution entirely undermines the episode for me. For example, the very thing that he orchestrates to expose UNIT's lies actually proves that they aren't lies. And any person with half a brain would figure that out in 2 seconds. My immediate reaction was, oh really, this again? So what did you think? Do you think I'm being harsh and the second half was actually inspired? Or do you share my disdain? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace out.